Hello there, welcome to the Football Block, and today we are going to be looking ahead to the Finalissima, and I'm going to give you my prediction as well as rundown and a preview of the match. If that sounds interesting, then let's hop right into it.
One step beyond.
So we have here one of the most anticipated matches of the year. There's a trophy on the line. We have two of the best teams in the world, Italy versus Argentina. Two of my teams that I love to watch, two of my favorite teams to watch, have some of my favorite players on either side going up against each other for a trophy. Now, yes, okay, this isn't, the World Cup. This isn't, something similar to that. There isn't the amount of prestige that it has, but still, this is a trophy that's going to be very important, and there's a lot of other reasons why. First off, you have bragging rights between the champions of South America, the best team in South America, versus, the best team in Europe, the winners of the Euros, going up against each other to decide who is the best team in the world. And also, you have Argentina, who are on a incredible unbeaten run. They're trying to prepare for the World Cup, but they're one of the favorites going into the tournament. And then you have Italy, who somehow did not qualify for the World Cup. They're going to want to, kind of repair their reputation, go into the year with a, good record, with their heads held high. So there's a lot at stake here. Yes, this is a new trophy. This is the first time we're ever seeing this, officially at least, in this regard in modern football, between, the winners of the Copa America winners versus the Euros. But still, there's a lot on the line here. Now, as I said before, Argentina are on a crazy unbeaten run. They qualify for the World Cup in second place. They still have one match to play against Brazil, because that's been postponed and rescheduled. But beyond that, they were undefeated. They haven't lost a single game. They drew a few games here and there, but they haven't lost a single game. They played some beautiful football. They won the Copa America. They were the best team at the Copa America. I thought they were deserving champions. And I gotta be honest, this team, just in terms of squad, may be the best Argentina team I've ever seen in my life. And they are definitely the best Argentina team when you look at just the way they play. I mean, from top to bottom, you have the amazing goalkeeper in Emi Martinez, but their defense is super tight, super strong. Yes, it's not littered with superstars, but there's some very, very talented players there. I mean, Tagliafico is a great player. Romero is coming off a great season with Tottenham. You have Molina, Montiel, Acuna. Otamendi's still around, and yes, Otamendi's not the best defender, but he always shows up for his country. The midfield is pretty stacked as well. Rodrigo de Paul, underrated midfielder, one of the best midfielders in the world. Paredes is a really good midfielder as well, very strong. Papu Gomez, of course, Di Maria out on the wing, and then up top. I mean, Argentina is always a team that is stacked up top, and you have, of course you have Messi, but you also have Lautaro Martinez, you have both Correas, Joaquin, and Angel, you still have Paulo Dybala, and then you have young and up-and-coming stars like Julian Alvarez. So this team is stacked, and like I said, best team in South America, and you can make a good argument that they are the best team in the world at the moment. They are very, very strong. Now, let's look to Italy. Now, Italy, I would have said that they were the best team in the world if they had qualified for the World Cup. In fact, they were my favorites for the World Cup, early predictions, but they were my favorites for the World Cup, and yet they didn't even qualify. They were amazing at the Euros. They were the best team by far. They deserved it. They played some beautiful football. But I think qualification came around for the next World Cup, and the wheels started to fall off. There was a little bit of fatigue, and I think Italy's attack kind of got exposed a little bit. Now, I think they got unlucky. I don't think that there's, a huge problem with this team. This isn't like when they failed to qualify for 2018, where they were just missing a generation. They were missing great players. They had a terrible manager. This time around, Mancini is a wonderful manager. He's done some amazing things with this team. I think they just simply got unlucky against North Macedonia. If you look at that game in particular, they outplayed North Macedonia. They had so many shots, and it just didn't work for them. They had a few injuries as well to some major players. And yeah, sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes this sport is cruel. But like I said, I think their attack got a little exposed during the qualification, as they are very deep throughout the rest of the team. I mean, you look at Donnarumma, he was crowned the best goalkeeper of the Euros. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Yes, he hasn't having the best season at PSG, but still, he's very talented. He's young, so he's only going to get better as well. The defense, I mean, Italy is always good on defense. You know, Bonucci and Chiellini are still there. In fact, Chiellini is going to be playing his final ever match for Italy right here in the Finalissima. But then you also have Spinazzola, who's back, who, you know, underrated guy, was amazing in the Euros and then got an injury, but now he's back, you know, so credit to him for recovering in time for this match. And there's also a bunch of other reliable defenders there as well. The midfield is also very, very strong. I mean, Verratti, Jorginho, Barella, Pessina. Italy is surprisingly very strong in the midfield. Now, their attack, just like how it was in qualification, I think is where they really lack. I mean, at the Euros, you had Immobile, who, you know, is kind of hot and cold. And then you had Insigne in top form. And then you had Chiesa, who I think is arguably Italy's best player. He, in my opinion, was the best player at the Euros. He was insane. He caused so much trouble. He's such a quick and volatile player. It's hard to contain him. And, you know, he's out for the rest of the season with a massive injury. It's unfortunate. He's one of my favorite players. I love watching Chiesa. And it's so sad he won't be here in this game. But then you look beyond Chiesa, Immobile, who, yes, is hot and cold. He's also injured as well. Now, that's not to say Italy don't have some very talented attackers. Bernardeschi is there. Insigne, who I already mentioned, is there. They also have Belotti and Scamacca. But you look at these guys, and there really isn't a goal scorer. There really isn't a guy who's just going to put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, Belotti is a great striker. He's been really good in Serie A, but he doesn't really perform for the national team, in my opinion. Scamacca is very inexperienced on a national level. And then a guy like Bernardeschi or Insigne, they'll create goals, but they're not going to really put them away. I mean, yes, they'll have a shot, they'll have a goal here and there, but they're not going to be the one who's just sweeping in all the loose chances. So I think that is where Italy really lack. Now, that's not to say that Argentina don't have weaknesses as well. I mean, as I said, this team is very balanced and very well-rounded, but you can make an argument that this Argentina team is untested to a certain extent. Now, I'm not one of those people that say that, you know, South American opposition is weak. In fact, I would actually argue that on average, the average South American team is stronger than the average European team. Because, I mean, you just look at the weakest teams in South America versus the weakest teams in Europe. I mean, South America has just, on average, much more talent in each team. However, the South American teams this World Cup cycle aren't as strong as they usually are. And I've heard some people say that the reason Argentina is unbeaten, or the reason that Argentina is playing so well, is they haven't really been tested. And remember, they only played that one game against Brazil. They're still waiting for the second one, and the first one ended in a 0-0 draw, and it was really close. I mean, I think a 0-0 draw was actually pretty fair because both teams were just 100% equal. There was nothing to give, really. But they haven't played any big European teams. For example, this would be the first time that they played a European team in an official match since the last World Cup. And this is the first time that they're playing a European team in any match in a long time, because also remember we had the huge break because of the COVID outbreak. So this team, you can argue, is untested against big opposition from Europe. But at the same time, Italy, you can also say, is a little untested as well. When was the last time they played a South American team in an official match? So it does kind of cut both ways. However, going into the match, I think motivation is going to be really important. I mean, like I said, Italy, they're not going to the World Cup. A lot of these guys probably don't even want to be here, because this was supposed to be kind of a preparation for the World Cup to see where either team is. And yet Italy, there's not much motivation here. They're just playing for pride. Now, for most players, I feel like that'll be strong enough, but still, there's going to be a lot of guys there who probably just, they just want to, relax for their summer vacation. They just had a grueling season in Serie A. They don't really want to play a high-stakes international match like this. Now, for Argentina, they're going to be wanting to show the world how good they are. This can serve as a litmus test to see how good this Argentina side truly is. And I think that will be proven depending on who comes out on top here. Now, if you look at these two teams head-to-head, how their styles collide with each other, they are a bit of a contrasting style. I mean, Italy has historically been a defensive team. However, under Mancini, they're still built on defense, but they're not a very pragmatic or super defensive team. Now, defense obviously still important, but they like to play dynamically. They do push up. They do attack quite frequently, and the reason is because they have the players that are able to do that. They have a very talented midfield, very technical midfielders who are good on the ball. However, at the Euros, one of their weaknesses was their defense. You know, as good as they are, they're a little slow. So if you look at, you know, the matches where they conceded goals, a lot of it was just quick, very quick interplay between, you know, midfielders and attackers. For example, if you remember that goal from Spain in the Euros where Morata scored, it was a quick counterattack. Spain moved the ball so quickly that Italy were not able to contain it, and Spain scored. Now, Argentina can look to exploit that, but if you look at Argentina's style of play, the way they were at the Copa America, it was very interesting in that the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes of every match was where they would do all the damage. They would go all out and attack the team, their opponent, and then try to score. And then after that, they would kind of sit back, whether or not they scored, and then conserve energy. Now, you know, their defense is very strong. They're also very physical. They'll hack you down. I mean, that's how they contained Brazil in the final. Otamendi was just on Neymar and was kicking his ankles every time he got the ball. But the last 15 minutes of the match mirror that of the first, and then they go all out and then try to score. I mean, just look at the Copa America final, for example. They scored from Di Maria, and I believe it was the 11th minute, and then they kind of sat back. They let Brazil come on to them. They absorbed the pressure. They didn't let Brazil get clear chances in the box, however. And then in the last 15, as Brazil was scrambling to really try and get an equalizer, then Argentina opened up again and pushed forward. And if not for a few mistakes from Messi or DePaul, then they would have scored again. So I think that's how Argentina is probably going to approach this game again. I think they are going to try and hit Italy really early on, and then sit back and then tighten the vice grip again towards the end of the match. Also in this match, interestingly enough, there will not be extra time. If it is tied at the 90, it's going to go straight to a penalty shootout. Now, both of these teams are very experienced on penalties. I mean, both of these teams, to get to their trophy, had to win penalty shootouts. I mean, you know, Italy had to go through penalties against Spain and England in the final. Donnarumma showed up big in both of those penalty shootouts. Jorginho scored the winning penalty in this game against Spain. He missed his against England, and then he also missed some very crucial penalties against the teams in World Cup qualification as well. So that potentially could be something to look out for. Now, Argentina had to go through penalties to overcome Colombia in the semifinals of the Copa America, and Emi Martinez had a wonderful showing. He saved 3 penalties, putting Argentina into the final. A few of the Argentinian players missed their penalties, but overall they're relatively comfortable penalty takers, at least this new crop of Argentina players. I mean, remember the 2015 and 2016 Copa America, and not so much. And, you know, so if it does come to penalty shootouts, look out for Messi. Hopefully, you know, as a Messi fan, he doesn't repeat what happened in the 2016 Copa final. As for my prediction, I think, taking into account everything I just said about how either team plays, I think that Argentina is going to come out of the gate swinging, and I think they're going to grab a lead. I think I'm going to say Messi scores a free kick, and Argentina get that lead, and then they kind of sit back, and then they let Italy bring the pressure on. This Italy team is a hard team. They're a hard-nosed team. They're very determined. So even though I think Argentina is going to be the team that is going to dominate the match, I do think that Italy will get an equalizer, maybe against a run of play. I'm going to say that they're going to score off a set piece, maybe off a corner, and Bonucci is going to score. I mean, he's going to be really motivated for this match. He wants to send his really good friend Chiellini off with a victory. I think he's going to grab the match by the horns and put the ball in the back of the net for his national team, making it 1-1. Now, remember what I said about Argentina attacking, how they attack in the first 15 and last 15. I think towards the end of the match, Argentina is going to open up a lot more. We're going to see a lot more dynamic play. We're going to see a lot more expansive passing, crosses into the box. And I'm going to say Julian Alvarez is going to get subbed on, and he's going to score the winner. Now, this guy, I don't know if you've heard about him. He's the one that recently got signed to Manchester City, but he's still on loan at River Plate. He scored 6 goals in one match recently in the Copa Libertadores. Yes, 6 goals in a single match. This guy is in red-hot form. He's also a very, very talented player. He scored for Argentina before in World Cup qualification, and I think that just the form he's in, he's going to come off the bench. He's going to be really amped up, and he's going to score that winner. And Argentina is going to come out 2-1 winners. They're going to be the champions of the Finalissima. They are going to be the king of the world briefly until the World Cup comes around. Now, can they repeat this success at the World Cup? Who knows? Who knows? Now, I think this is going to be a really tight match. I think it's going to be an exciting match, but I think it is going to be pretty tight. Both these teams don't like to leave themselves exposed. Interestingly enough, after both the Euros and the Copa America finished last year, I just, through speculation said, oh, it would be cool if, Argentina and Italy played each other. And if they did, I think Argentina would just scrape by 2-1 winners. So I'm going to stick with that prediction. That was probably in July of last year. I'm going to stick by that prediction. With that score prediction, I do think the game is going to be a little different. I don't think Argentina is going to scrape by 2-1. I think it's going to be a relatively more dominant win from them. But still, I'm going to stick by that scoreline 2-1. So anyway, guys, that has been my prediction. Let me know in the comments below if you agree, if you disagree. Do you think I'm overrating this Argentina team? Do you think that this Argentina team is not as good as everyone has said they are because they haven't really been tested against the biggest teams in Europe? On the other hand, do you think Italy really have it in them? Do you think they can take all this pain and this heartbreak from missing the World Cup and then transform that into a win? Or do you think that's going to come back and collapse on them? And do you think Argentina is just going to blow out Italy? Do you think it's going to be like 4-0 Argentina, hat trick from Messi or something like that? Let me know in the comments below everything that you think is going to happen. Also, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. And anyway, guys, my name is Brandon. This has been The Football Block. I hope you guys have a nice rest of your night.
One step beyond.